Well, let's get started. Welcome. So you are at the Biotechnology Master's info session. Hopefully that's where you intend to be today. Welcome. I am Dean Jackie Schell. I am the Associate Dean for Biology Master's Education at Brown University. I have with me today Bryce, who is a graduate recruitment counselor for the Division of Masters and Professional Programs. And we're going to tell you all about the Biotech Master's Program and life as a master's student at Brown. So welcome. So if I could tell you anything, you want to zone out the rest of this meeting, that's okay. But the main message I want to tell you today about this program is that this program really helps you to get to the next step. Whether that's going into a PhD program or going to work in the biotech industry or becoming more competitive to med school, this program will help you do that. And that's really the three main areas that this program helps you to become more competitive to get placement in. So let me give you some examples of this. So I had one student who applied to the program. He was a pre-med student. He was very interested in going to med school, but his application just wasn't strong enough for med school. Even though he had a good GPA, he had gone to a strong undergraduate university, but he joined our Master's of Science program at Brown. He joined a lab of a leading cancer physician here at Brown. He did top-notch research, published his research, and at the end of the degree, not only did he get into a very competitive med program, he got in an MD PhD program, which is even more competitive. I had another student who went to Clemson, had a neuroscience degree, was applying actually to our PhD program. She just wasn't strong enough to get into our PhD program though. She came, she did the Master of Science, worked with a neuroscientist faculty at Brown, and at the end of her time here, she was accepted into 5 PhD programs, which is quite a difference from when she started her application process 2 years ago for PhD programs. And when she was in the program, she would meet with me and she would say things like, if I just had all that I had now when I was an undergrad, I would have been more competitive for a PhD program. Finally, I had a student who about maybe 4 years ago, she was interested in getting a job after graduation. She went to a great university in Massachusetts, did a degree in neuroscience. And as she was in her senior year, she applied both to this master's program at Brown, as well as for jobs in industry. She had no luck finding jobs. She came, she did a master's of science, did a co-op as part of her degree. After she graduated, or before she graduated even, she had 9 job offers. Her starting salary was $90,000, not including bonuses, relocation, and benefits. These are just 3 examples, but are really common stories that we see within this program. Students are leaving undergrad, they're not quite prepared for the next stage. They do this degree and they all of a sudden are very competitive for the field they're looking to get in. So, sorry, what is this program? Well, we actually have 2 degrees that we offer. We have the Master's of Science degree and the Master's of Arts. And I'm going to explain the difference between the 2 of them. Within both of these degrees, you can do the program part-time if you're a domestic student. And then within both of these degrees, you can choose a track. You can do a track that's focused more on the science behind biotech, or you can do one that's more focused on the business behind biotech. Okay, so a little bit about this program. We are a large program that includes both external students like most of you on this call, as well as fifth-year students, which are some of you who are on this call as well. Brown undergrads who are interested in getting a master's degree. Here I have the division between how many of the students are doing a Master of Science versus how many are doing a Master's of Arts. And you can see most of our students are doing a Master of Science. And I think this is something that really sets our students apart. And if you are to join the program, it's probably where I'll try to push you. Over 80 faculty are working with our students. This is really interesting and really great. And keep this number in mind. If you're a student interested in doing research, we have over 80 faculty and growing each year who've worked with our students. And I'll tell you why that's so important a little bit later. Okay, So what does this look like? What is the program? So I'm focused more here on external students, fifth-year students. I'd happy to talk more about this one-on-one with you if you have questions. But for our two-year students, both of the degrees, the Master of Science and the Masters of Arts, is 8 credits. At Brown, one course is 1 credit, okay? It's done over 2 years. There's an asterisk here because it is flexible. The main difference between these 2 degrees is that within the Masters of Science, you are doing research the whole time you're in the program. You're going to write a thesis and have an oral defense. What you'll notice, though, is that there is a very light course requirement in both of these degrees. The Master of Arts you can finish in 1 year because it is only 8 credits. The Master of Science typically is a 2-year degree unless you're a fifth-year student. So a common question we get is, okay, what is the cost of the degree? So at Brown, you pay per a credit, and it's about a little over $8,000, a little under $9,000 per credit. 8 credits is about a $72,000 degree. We are comparable to other programs in the area, and we're cheaper than other schools. A place like Northwestern, the cost is above $90,000 for a comparable degree, and same with UPenn. And we do offer 1/8 merit scholarships to our top students who are applying to the program. Okay, so why Brown? There are a lot of master's programs out there, but what is unique about Brown, and why is it that this program is so special, so unique? And really what it comes down to is you will not find another program that offers in-depth thesis research with a co-op opportunity and an open curriculum that is really focused on helping the students get what they want. So let's talk about some of these things. So the curriculum. As I mentioned, with both the Masters of Science and the Masters of Arts, it's an 8-credit program. The main difference, as we said, is with the Master of Science, you're actually doing research. And while the Masters of Arts is just coursework. So who would do a Masters of Arts versus a Master of Science? Masters of Arts, I would say if you have already done research, if you're interested in med school, this may be a good degree for you. If you're interested in the business of biotech more than the science, maybe that's the degree for you. But most students, even if you're interested in the business behind biotech, I usually encourage you to do the Masters of Science, okay? So a little bit about this. As I said, at Brown, we have an open curriculum. What does that mean? Within the master's program in biotech, you have a lot of flexibility. The Master of Science, you have 5 structured classes you're going to pick from, and then you're going to do 3 independent studies to help to do research. But what's nice about this program is that there's no required courses. If you're not interested in doing a cell biology class, you don't have to do a cell biology class. If you don't want to take a stats class, you don't have to take stats. Let's say you're not interested in microbiology. That's fine. You get to choose which courses you want to take to help you learn what you want to learn for the program. What's nice at Brown is we have something called shopping period where students will, it's basically add drop period, but Brown takes it to a very different level where students will sign up for more than 2 classes. They'll attend all sorts of different classes and really find the 2 classes that work best for them each semester. So even though we are a large program with 140 students or so, what's nice is that most of the courses that are offered through the program are small. They're at about 20 students each. So you actually get to know your cohort. You get to know your instructors in the class very well, which is really great. If you don't like those small classes, you're free to take big classes. As I'm saying, it's an open curriculum. So you get to choose what courses work for you and what you're most interested in. Of course, we have suggestions. If you're interested in this sort of track, these would be the courses you should take. Or if you're interested in that track, you should take these courses. But once again, there's a lot of flexibility for you to choose how you want to set up your degree. So here, I'm just really trying to impress you with the number of courses you can take within the Biotech Master's program. And this is not even the full list. This is just the list of courses you can take without getting special permission from me as the director of the program. And what you'll notice as you look at these lists of classes is they're very diverse. They range from something like advanced biochem to biotech IP to cardiovascular engineering to polymer science to in vitro models for disease, to molecular targets of drug discovery, to protein biophysics. Very diverse classes that you can pick from to choose a curriculum that's going to help you learn and do what you're interested in. And then, in addition to this, what's nice about the program is every semester students come to me and they say, Jackie, I found this class in computer science. Can I take this class? And if it's a graduate level course, if it has relevance, the answer is yes. Or public health, they ask sometimes about public health classes. They ask about chemistry classes, et cetera. So there's a lot of flexibility to make and learn what you're interested in learning in this program. I think the most interesting course we have at Brown is actually not a course. It's actually a co-op opportunity. So what is it? Our students work for 6 months in industry. They earn a salary and they get course credit. Nowadays, with how tough the market is, getting industry experience before graduating is essential. What is nice about Brown is that we have partners who we work exclusively to place our students in these positions. So for example, we just received 6 projects from Pfizer that are just for Biotech Master students at Brown. We received 6 projects from AbbVie, another top pharma company, with just 6 projects specifically for our Brown students. We have exclusive partnerships with certain companies. Like I said, Pfizer, AbbVie, Arthur D. Little, which is a consulting firm. And then we also have all the other options that our students can apply for that are not just exclusive to Brown students. But for example, we have 13 positions just for biotech students this semester. And maybe we have 15 students who may be interested in a co-op this semester. So the nice part is we have more positions basically than we have students who are going to actually participate in the co-op. And with these exclusive partnerships, you know your resume is getting looked at. As I said, this is one of my favorite parts of the program, is this opportunity to go and work in industry so you can become more competitive once you graduate for jobs. All right, so what else makes Brown really unique? In addition to this open curriculum in the biotech program that includes co-op and industry relevant skills that you're learning, we are very much research focused. So students will look at the program and they'll say 8 credits over 2 years. That's only 2 courses per semester, and only 5 of them have to be real structured classes, not independent study. Like, how hard are these courses is somewhat times the panic that sets in when they're thinking about this program. And the answer is the courses are just like any other courses. And actually they're more discussion based really than just like exams all the time. But the program is set up this way so that students have a lot of time to do research in their thesis, which makes a huge difference in that once our students leave Brown, they actually publish what they have done, which is super important if you're looking to get into a PhD program. It's also very helpful for med school applications, and it can help with industry positions as well. You can see from 2013 to 2021, we had 127 master students and 128 publications. From the this year prior, already 25% of our students have published their work, and this number always goes up because publications can sometimes take a little bit longer than when the student graduates. But the main message is because the way this program is set up to allow you to have so much time to do research, our students actually do publish, and it makes a big difference for their record. What's nice about Brown is that there's so many different areas you can do research in. The biotech program is not a single department. We are actually a program that spans all of the university, and that includes all the biology departments at Brown, as well as hospital locations. So we're affiliated with Rhode Island Hospital, Women and Infants Hospital, the VA Hospital, and Miriam Hospital. I'm missing hospitals, but there's a ton of hospitals in the Providence area where students can also do thesis research. And as you remember, I said to you that there are over 80 different faculty that our students have worked with. This number grows every year because you can really work in any place affiliated with Brown with anyone who you mesh well with and who's doing research that is of interest to you. So, and just to take a step back, this thesis experience is not anything like you'll experience at other schools. Some schools will have you do a little bit of research if you want, you can volunteer, but here it's a really in-depth opportunity to learn how to design experiments, to answer a specific scientific question, to collect that data, to analyze it, to put it into context and be able to talk about it in a meaningful way. This experience that you get from this thesis really prepares you to go out into industry or go further into a PhD program or even into med school. Okay, so what else makes Brown unique? Our community and the student climate. When we survey students about their experience at Brown, they will say things like the faculty here treat you like family, that you won't find anyone who cares for you as much as your faculty do at Brown. And it's true. We really care about our students being successful. This is why I'm here. It's to make my students successful and to get a return on this investment that they're doing. Nothing is better to me than seeing you all as my students graduate and go on and achieve what you're looking to achieve. In addition, the university has so many different items to help improve your experience. Whether it's you're interested in fitness and sports or clubs, we have all these different clubs that you can take a part with at Brown. We have a biotech student organization who organizes regular events for our students. They're doing a picnic last year. They went to level 99, which I don't know what that is, but I think some of you might know. They do all sorts of fun things that they organize. Okay, what else is good about Brown? I think one of the things that really helps students get a return on their investment here at Brown is the name of Brown itself. Here I have our placement data, and this is something I'm so proud to share. If you are applying to other schools or thinking about joining other schools, you want to make sure wherever you're going, they share with you where the students go after graduation, because that's why you're here, right? You want to learn, but you also need to get a return on this investment you're making. And what you can see is that we have a very, very high placement rate for our students. I want to first bring your attention to this yellow slice of the pie here, which is unemployed / not tracked. And this is 2.5 out of 100% out of 157 students. Very, very low unemployment rate / we can't get an answer or find where that student left. Maybe they went back home to their country and we haven't heard from them. But you'll see a big group go into the research and development side of industry, a good part go into business consulting, a number go into grad school, and a very big slice also go into MD, PhD, and some continuing on in academic research for a bit. And part of it is the Brown name. I always tell students, what you're learning here is going to put you over the top, because you're going to have all these new skills from your thesis and from your working in an industry position. But in addition, having a degree from Brown does carry weight, and it gives you recognition for wherever you're going next. Finally, for those of you who are not from the area, I just want to touch upon the location about Providence. Providence is a nice little city. It's very manageable. And what's nice about it, it has many attractions, museums, zoos, great restaurants, music scene. And it has a city portion that you can just go right down Campus Hill to get to, College Hill, excuse me. And then where Brown is mostly located for you is in a more residential part of the city. So you get the benefit of having that on-campus feeling, as well as being able to be really close to a city to get city life as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check our Q&A. Yes, there is a Q&A. So if we could pause before we get to questions about, before I let Bryce talk about the application process, let's just see if there's any questions here. So the first question I have, is it possible to complete the SEM in 1 year? If you're a fifth-year master's student, yes. If you're not, the opportunity is a yes as well. But the concern I would always say is, will you get what you need to get out of this degree? The whole point of coming here is to make yourself more competitive for whatever is next. And usually 2 years is what we found is the right amount of time to make you the most competitive. So research takes time. If you're just want to do coursework, absolutely. You could do all the courses in 1 year and go out and do the next step. I have students who are doing that who are applying to med school, and they've already have interviews lined up for med school, and they're doing this as sort of a gap year. Absolutely. But if you're interested in going to industry or getting into a PhD program, I recommend taking the full 2 years to make yourself as competitive as you need to be to get into those very competitive positions. How many applications do you typically receive for the program? We don't share application numbers, but a lot is the answer, and it's a big lift for our admissions committee. But rest assured, every application is read, unless you don't have a minimum TOEFL or IELTS score. That's the only thing that will not get your application read. But besides that, all applications are read, and we're looking to have the wonderful students join. And I am so excited when students apply apply knowing that your application will get read and that you will have full consideration for this program. Have international students had similar success in finding job opportunities after the program? Yes, yes. So our program is about 60% domestic, 40% international. And as you can see, our placement rate is super high, right? So yes, our international students have had similar success finding job opportunities after the program. I will caution that we're entering unprecedented times for international students. But as I talked to my colleagues at Pfizer, they are still, yesterday, talking to my colleagues at Pfizer, they're still saying, yes, our international students can do the co-op still with us. We're very happy to have them joining. During the co-op program, and Bryce, could you get rid of anything I answered if you don't mind? Thank you. During the co-op program, that happens during the semester, will I still be attending classes? So for the co-op, it is 6 months. So it is January to the end of June, or it's July to December. You have an option to just do the co-op or to take an online class. We have an online class every semester we offer, or to cross-register at Harvard. Harvard is in Cambridge, where lots of our co-ops are. Or you can continue writing your thesis. So there's a lot of options of what to do while you're doing the co-op. Okay, let me see how I'm doing on this list that is going. Do you give priority to current undergraduate students when selecting applicants? So if you're meaning a fifth-year student at Brown, is what I'm assuming is that question. Our fifth-year students have different applications. So they only have 2 letters of recommendation. And basically, if you've done well as an undergraduate here at Brown, we have a lot of confidence that you'll continue to do well in the master's program. So it's not giving priority per se, but the application is simplified. There's no application fee. Well, anyone who attended here doesn't have an application fee because it gets waived by attending the seminar, but fifth-year students, you still don't have that. And you actually have an extra year you can defer your admission, which we can talk about offline if you're interested. What support do master students receive for finding help with co-op or a job after graduation? So Bryce will talk about the Center for Master's Excellence in her slides, but within the biotech program, we have a specific person whose job is he's the Associate Director for Industry Outreach, Professional Development, and Alumni Engagement. He works one-on-one with our students on their resumes. What's great about him, his name is Professor Adam Krigo, is he worked in industry for about 10 years. He has his PhD. He also has a master's in biotech, so he really has done it all. And he's very good at understanding what the biotech industry is looking for and how we can shape your resume, how you should follow up in email after interviews, how you should prep for interviews, what are questions they're going to ask you. So you have a person who's dedicated to you, and he's phenomenal. I've seen emails that students are sending to him saying, Adam, you got me this job. You are the reason I got this job. And I can say he's made a huge difference with our students after being part of this program. So that's just within the biotech program. Bryce will talk about the support for all master students. So the biotech program is kind of unique in that you have your own support internally and then also within the master's division. All right. Would I need to contact a lab as part of the application process? No. Fifth-year students, it's helpful to join a lab prior because it will be a an expedited year only expedited time in the program. So doing research ahead of time is helpful for you, but you don't have to do it as part of the application process. External students who are not a part of Brown, definitely you do not need to, and I don't recommend contacting people ahead of time. Will there be interviews as part of the application process? No, there are no interviews. So you want to make your application stand out without that. Are there specific courses that a student who applies straight from undergrad needs to complete before applying? Do you prioritize some majors for undergraduate degrees over others? The answer is we want to know that you'll do well within the program. So having a background in the life sciences is helpful. So biology, any field of biology, really. We've accepted students from chemistry, but we want to see some bio or some neuroscience, some understanding of physiology, cell physiology or cell biology is important. We've accepted students from other majors, though, who have worked in the field. And as I said, it's a holistic review of this application, which Bryce will talk about more. So we're not just saying, oh, not the right unless your background is English and you've not worked in the field at all, that would be where we're like, okay, this is not going to work. But as I'm saying, we review the whole application. Okay, will my GPA from the other master's program be considered? Yes, it will. If so, is the undergraduate GPA or master's given more weight? We look at the whole package of the student. So I cannot say one will be weighed over the other. We would look at everything in context of your whole application. Can external students start research classes at Brown during the summer before the semester starts? Classes? No. Research, it depends on if you're a domestic student or an international student. If you're domestic, yes, because it's not counted as CPT or OPT. And you can just go and volunteer and start your research in a lab. What is the ratio of fifth year of Brown students to external students? High majority external students. We have some fifth year, I don't know the exact percentages. It was on an earlier slide, I think, but maybe we have around like anywhere between 5 to 15 fifth year students, and we have 143 in the program. So a lot more external than fifth year. But the nice part is everybody becomes a big cohort together of students, regardless of where you came from. All right, let me see, how have I done?
I've been typing some answers too, so I lost a little bit of track of the ones that you answered.
That's okay. I think I'm just scrolling through my list, and I think I'll hit the answer live.
Great.
I already did that. Do admitted students have some years of job research experience? It depends. So a lot of them do not, some of them do. But the majority do not have years of job research experience because students are often doing this program so they can become more competitive for a job later. But that being said, we have a lot of students who are in the part-time program who are currently working and doing this degree to elevate their career. For the question about how can I make my application strong as a pharmacist from another country, I can't give specifics to each person on how to strengthen your application, but just know, once again, we're looking for signs that the student will be successful once they join Brown, whether it is from experience in coursework or it's experience they've done in the industry. So, and I've had a pharmacist join the program from India before, and he was one of my top students. So like I said, we're looking at the whole student. Can you combine other master degrees like MBA too? We don't have an MBA program here at Brown. So if you're enrolled in the Biotech Master's program, you're only doing the biotech program. Does doing the co-op extend the time it takes to complete the degree? It does for fifth year students, but not for 2-year students. Most students will complete the program in the same 2 years. And I should mention, if you're a fifth year international student, because of visa restrictions, you're not able to do the co-op. There are options to transfer into the 2-year program if you're a Brown undergraduate who's looking to do the master's program. But that would be a question you and I could talk about privately. All right, I'm in my last year of biomedical science major. I broke into private equity 19, where I still where I'm still this today, and I have created Greece's first biotechnology club since I'm interested in the intersection of finance and life science. Would this program be suitable for me, given I want to strengthen my scientific foundation and apply it in the financial industry? Fun fact, my cousin is also at Brown. That is a fun fact. So I have a student in the program who has been working in investment banking, and he's an older individual. He's joined the master's program to learn more of the science, and he's doing it part-time. He's doing those foundational science courses. So he knows the management track side, but he wants to learn the more science side, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I have students who do that. Okay, does TA positions available for students during this master's? Okay, so I recommend looking at our FAQ page for questions about financing. You'll find so many answers, and when Bryce has a free minute, maybe she'll share that with you. And I think it's on the future slides. Do we talk about this, Bryce, later? Maybe we do. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause here. Let's see some of Bryce's slides because I'm losing my memory. And then we will go back and answer some of these other questions. How about that, Bryce? You want to take over?
That sounds great. I just added that frequently asked questions link into the chat for everybody.
Awesome.
So hopefully you can view that there. And if we want to get started, I will talk a little bit about the Master's Student Excellence team. So we've got a really excellent team, hence Master Student Excellence. It's led by our Deputy Dean of Academic and Student Affairs, Joel Revel. He has a high-level oversight over everything. And then depending on if you are more interested in getting involved in student affairs, seeing what kind of resources and events are on campus, you can then reach out to Janae or Carmen. They are really great resources there. They plan all sorts of events, from hiking and kayaking to the beer garden, to reading circles, to goat yoga, all sorts of really fun events there. And then we have Kamal, who's our Associate Director of Career Services and Professional Development. And she works with Caitlin Giannetti and Amanda Blaska, and they are our career counselors. They work with our professional development side, and they offer things like resume and cover letter workshops, practice interviews, different professional development opportunities, courses, webinars, all sorts of really fun things. If we want to go to the next slide, please, I can get into a little bit more of our core functions. So with our professional development and career services, when you if you sign up to meet one-on-one with them, they offer things that can help you identify your own interests, skills, values, no matter what level of career interest you have, whether you're kind of broadly into biotechnology and not sure where you want to go from there, or you are hyper focused on very specific niche of the subject. There's a broad range, and they want to help you identify what's going to make you stand out, what's going to make you succeed in that professional vein of the subject. So identifying your skills, your interests, your values, and then exploring options from there. Looking at career options, employment opportunities, and then, like I mentioned, they help you prepare from there, making a resume, working on your cover letter, doing mock interviews. And this can be individual or within a group. And it's also always nice to highlight in a STEM program that there is STEM-specific career support that's not always offered. And I think that's really important to highlight. And then with our student affairs team, they offer master-specific social events. So working in higher education, something that we've noticed is that a lot of times there's a really robust events and student affairs office on the campus, but it's often only offered really towards undergraduate. So something that our team does really, really well is they have a high level focus on including master students in these social events and hosting some that are open for everybody, some that are just master specific. So you really get to connect with students from all over Brown in all of the different programs, and I think that's really great. We also have the resources like SAS is our Student Accessibility Services, and OISSS is the Office of International Students and Scholars Services. And they can connect you with those resources as well. They also work with you with crisis support, emergency funding, leaves of absence, any accommodations. Because like we said, when we review your application, we view it holistically, but once you get here, we view you holistically too. You're a whole person. And while academics are an incredibly important function of a university, making sure that you feel supported as a human being is something that we also really value. So if you have something come up, like you blew a tire on your car, or you had an unexpected medical visit, or maybe you need to fly home for a medical treatment, or your parent has a medical treatment, you can apply for emergency funding. That's a one-time opportunity of about, I believe, up to $500. So if you need something as a person, we want to be there to support you. If you go to the next slide, please, I'll get into the application requirements. So starting with your unofficial transcripts, for your application, all we need is your unofficial transcript. It does need to be translated into English, but we don't need it official until you enroll. So starting at the base, just unofficial transcripts for now. We also want your personal statement, and this is a really great way to show us how you're connecting your own experience with specifically what you're interested in this program. We want to see that you've done your research, you know what program you're choosing, and there's reasons that you've picked this program and reasons that you think you'll do well in these classes with these opportunities. How are you going to tie your experiences and your values to this program? Next is your CV and resume. We love to see what work you've done, any volunteer work, any publications or presentations that you've done, including all of your academic background as well. And then we want to see your letters of recommendation. We want 3 letters of recommendation. And these are from people who know you really well, and I believe we'll get into them a little more in depth on a future slide. And then we have the TOEFL or the IELTS. These are our 2 English language proficiency exams that we accept. If you attended a school and obtained your degree and it was completely taught in English, then you do not need to take these exams. Also, if English is your native language, then you do not need to take the English proficiency exams. The deadline for spring for US residents is coming up on November 1st. The international deadline passed on October 1st, but for fall 2026, the deadline is April 15th. And the notifications are rolling, so you'll hear back as you submit your application. Next slide, please. Awesome. So continuing with the requirements, the application fee is $100, but as an attendee of this session, that will be waived. That is an automatic fee waiver. There is no code. There is nothing you need to do or submit. If you are here, that is all you needed to do. It will be automatically assigned to the email that you used to sign on for the session. I'm going to include our email here. If in case you are signed up using a different email today than the email that you are putting your application under, you can email us at masters_events@brown.edu and I will get that fixed for you. The GRE is not required, but if you have taken the GRE, we'd love to see it. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't review it for this program specifically, so that's not a part of the extra additional files that we'll review. And like I said, official transcripts are only required for enrolling students before classes start. So for now, unofficial is fine. Once you're admitted before you enroll, you do need to submit those official transcripts. The international transcript evaluations, you can use WES, ECE, or TEC. That is required for degrees from non-US institutions on your official transcript before you enroll. With our English proficiency exams, the scores that we're looking for are a minimum of 100 on the TOEFL or an 8 on the IELTS. Those sound vastly different. They are different scoring methods that equate to about the same proficiency level. And the school code is on the screen. This is a really great screenshotable slide if you want to save that information. I recommend taking that screenshot. And we will move to the next slide. Awesome. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of the personal statement and letters of recommendation. We get a lot of questions about these because students want to know exactly what we want to see on the application. So for your personal statement, we're looking for a maximum of 1,500 words. And we want to know why you're interested, again, in specifically biotechnology at Brown. We want to see how you're tying in your past experience, whether they're academic or professional or personal, and how they've prepared you to succeed in this program. And then any specific areas and topics you're interested in studying. Something that I recommend is looking into the courses, seeing if there's a specific topic within the coursework that is something that really fascinates you or you're really passionate about. And find that and include that in your personal statement. This is how we get to know you as a person. Um, so feel free to put your own kind of story in it, as long as it's still really connected to the program. That's what we're really looking for, is how you connect you to the program. And with letters of recommendation, we are looking for relevant professional experiences or coursework. So these are people that know you really well, that see how you learn, that see how you apply what you learn. We're looking for 3 letters of recommendation for external applicants. If you are a current Brown undergraduate and applying for the 5th-year program, we're looking for 2 letters of recommendation. Next slide, please. Awesome. So this is a little bit more about our holistic application review. We review each application, knowing that there is no such thing as a perfect applicant. We take all of the grains of salt that come with your application. We want to look over everything and get that bigger picture of, is this someone who's going to find success within this program? So I know there have been some questions about a minimum GPA. There's not a minimum GPA per se. But we are looking usually for a 3.0 or above. There have been, some cases in all of our programs where maybe an applicant has under a 3.0, but we still think they are qualified enough to continue looking at them, to really see if their experiences academically, professionally, can really push them over that edge. It may have been a few years since you've been in school, and maybe you've got a lot of professional achievements under your belt, but 10 years ago, you may not have had the perfect undergraduate GPA. That's something that we'll take into consideration. And then those recommendation letters, that can really be impactful in moving your application along as well. Something that I recommend with those letters of recommendation is giving your recommenders your whole application, providing them with your personal statement, providing them with your resume, providing them with maybe even a list of specific things you'd like them to highlight. Say, hey, remember when I was in your class and we worked on this specific project and I thought I did really well? I would love it if you could highlight how you thought I did on this specific piece, because it connects really well to the Biotechnology Master's program aspect that I'm really interested in. So getting all of that done early and then getting that to your recommenders and submitting it as early as you can is always a good step. Next slide, please. Awesome. And then Jackie and I will open it up to Q&A. This, again, is that frequently asked questions link that I did put in the chat. So we can move to the next slide. Great. And then this is our contact information, and we can do some Q&A.
Okay, so going back to the top of my list, are there TA positions and funding in general? So the way TA positions work at Brown is that they are part-time jobs for our master students. So you earn an hourly wage of $30 about per an hour, and it's about 6 hours per week for the 13 weeks you're in the semester. We post these as regular positions that our students can apply for. Within the Biotech Master's program, they're not research assistantships that you're getting or TA-ships that you're working as a TA or as a research assistant and getting tuition waived. That does not exist within the program. Where could I schedule an offline session? I would ask you if you're interested in questions about the application process that is directed towards the admissions team that Bryce is part of. If you have specific questions about the program, you can email me specific questions about the program and I'd be happy to answer that. Most of the time, I don't think we need an in-depth meeting. If I was to meet with all the applicants, it'd be tough. But if there's really specific circumstances you want to discuss, I'd be happy to meet with you as well. You can just shoot me out an email. Well, not having published research or as an undergraduate student be a disadvantage? No, it will not be a disadvantage. Lots of students are joining this program so they can do such thing to become more competitive. So don't take that as a reason not to apply. Our associate director is Professor Adam Grigo. Please don't email him as an applicant right now because he's very busy supporting our current students, but he does exist. You can find him on LinkedIn, on our website, but I would not email him right now with questions because once again, his job is to support current students, not to help with the admissions process. When writing a statement of purpose, I think we talked about that. Should we highlighting the labs we want to work with? You can. If we're interested in MA more than MSc, would we highlight the application, or is that something you actually, as you're applying, you select what program you're interested in? If you apply to MA and you end up being interested in MSc, that's also fine, but you actually select if you want the Master's of Art or the Master's of Science. Are scholarships available to international applicants? All of our applicants are considered for scholarships, and it's just based on your application material, regardless of if you're domestic or international. Can you apply for both the master's and PhD program? You can. And actually, if you apply to one of our biology PhD programs, there's a box you can select that says, I am interested in being considered for the master's program, and your application automatically gets sent to the master's program in about February, March. So you can apply to both. If you just apply to the PhD, you will be reviewed for the master's as well if you select that box, and that can save you some time. Are there ways to connect with current master's students at Brown? Bryce, do you want to answer about the sessions we're offering for them to meet a master's student at Brown?
Yes, absolutely. So the link that I just put in the chat that I titled Meet with a Recruitment Counselor also shows all of our upcoming events. And in November, we are hosting a Meet a Master's Student event. And that will be, let's see, I believe it's the 19th, but let me double check. It is November 19th. So if you would like to sign up for that, I will put the link in the chat for that as well.
And I will say, after students are admitted for our admitted session, admitted student info sessions, we bring in current students. I share the names of current students who are accepted into the program for our students to help them and talk to them about life as a master's at Brown. I don't burden the students with applicants as much, but if you have specific questions, you can email me and I can see if there's a student that I could connect you with as well. I'm considering the AM program. So in answer to the question about what program is going to be right for you, I always push students more towards semester science because you do get more from that degree. You get more critical thinking skills, you get more technical skills. But that being said, and especially if you want to work in industry, whether it's business focused or research focused. So the nice thing about actually our thesis experiences and our research experience is some of our thesis are not just like doing Western blots or running PCR, but they're actually working with labs that have some sort of technology that they want to move towards the market. And if students are doing the business courses, they can do a business related thesis with faculty who are doing that. So I've had students work with faculty, like one faculty had a small molecule, which they thought could be a therapeutic for a few different indications, like whether it's there was a rare disease it could be an indication for. There was depression, it could be an indication for, and there was a third. And what this student's job was to analyze the market to see where would be the best market and what would be the best plan for this faculty if they wanted to get this small molecule towards patients. So their job was to do all this research. It's not bench research as you might think of, but other types of research and putting together a proposal. And that actually served as that student's thesis. That's just one example of that. We have many more examples of that, where you can do a business related thesis and still be a part of the SEM program. So do not submit your application if you do not meet the minimal TOEFL or IELTS score. It will not be reviewed. You can retake your exams and we will consider that once your application has that minimum score, but I would not recommend applying because you will get rejected if your minimal IELTS and TOEFL are not there. We want everything. This is a degree that focuses a lot on English communication, and if you're not to the same level of proficiency, we are not confident you'll do well. And I don't want to have students, or as a program, we don't want students joining and not being able to succeed. So without those minimal English proficiency scores, I do not suggest you apply. And if you're, for the student who's asking about the job offer, it wouldn't make a difference. It's just, I would apply when it makes sense for you to apply. Website score says IELTS minimum is 7. That is for the whole entire university, not for the Brown Master's program. Okay, I was wondering if Brown University accepts the TOEFL my best scores. Bryce, the answer is yes. The best score means like you've taken the test
Yeah,
many
I
times.
believe that's the best out of if you've taken it 3 or 4 times, whatever your best score is, then yes, we do.
Okay. I think we've answered about 36 questions. Let me say I'm so happy you joined today, and I really do hope to see your application and have you as part of our program. And best of luck to you as you continue through this process. All right, take care, everyone. Thank you, Bryce, for your support today as well.
Thank you. Bye.